to Ignite Your Power, the Kathy Mel podcast. And today I am so excited and honored to have a guest, Russell Rogers. He is an influencer, entrepreneur, author, speaker, founder of Move Today 365, which we will definitely talk more about because this is a cool movement that is amazing. And he also launched 5 books last June 2023. And this year, he launched a new one in June 2024, which we will discuss too. So, hi, Russell. Say hi to
Uh,
everybody.
hey, Kathy, it's great to be here. Thanks for the invite. This is so fun. Looking
Yes,
forward to it.
I'm so excited. So, let's get right into it. What inspired you to write a series of the children's books that we just, discussed that you launched? And what focus, and what like encouraged all of that outdoor activity and family time and yeah, having and creating these book series.
Yeah, great question. It really goes back to my childhood. My childhood was right here where I'm at. I'm at my mom's place right now, working on it, getting ready for a reunion. And back then when they built the house when I was 6 months old, it was a house and a lot of dirt. We lived out on a little farm, and we had corn all around. We had animals all around, and so we just created. We lived outside, and that really kind of set the tone, for the rest of my life. And I played sports all my life. I played it all through, elementary, junior high, high school, college. Played college baseball, so everything was outside. And then once I got into my adult life, got married, had kids, again, we inspired, encouraged our kids to play sports, to choose one activity in high school that they, one sport they needed to play outside. So it was a life. And so I'm 56 years old. I've lived, eaten, breathed, being outdoors, living outdoors. And that really kind of played into where I am now and the history of why I'm doing what I'm doing because again, all of my adult life has been around kids, from youth ministry to working at an orphanage for a couple of years to working with college students for 8 years, coaching kids, training kids. It all was about kids in my adult life. And so that was a major influence for me in writing these books.
That's so beautiful. I love that because, some of us aren't exposed to being outdoors and, having that childhood is everybody has a different childhood, right? So it's
100%.
beautiful that you're taking your life lessons and what you're, known to, and then creating books out of it. So what does the books actually like teach in here, right? It's more of impacting or talking about your movement, right? The Move Today 365, is that kind of it correlates together?
Exactly, exactly. So, when I began to write and think about this in 2021, I really didn't know, Kathy, like where it was going to go, what it was going to take me. I didn't even think about writing a book. I had no idea when I was writing these words in the book, but I know this. When I go back and look at my journal, the first word that I wrote in there was move.
Wow.
Yeah, that was the first word. And I drew a little rectangle around it, to highlight the word move. And everything flowed from there. But I even at that time when I was writing this down, I was really kind of treating it as a journal. I really wasn't treating it as I'm writing a book. But after the months went by, I was like, I think I got something here. And so I did. And so I thought, well, I could put this in one book, but really, who is this about? What are these words for? And who is going to be impacted. And it was about families, it's about kids. So I basically took these words and put them into 5 books, and each book represents 1 year of life for the first 5 years of a kid's life. So it's basically from infancy to 5 years old, but it's also great for first time readers because they're large words, easy words, a lot of pictures, a lot of color. But the psychology behind it, Kathy, is that when the parents read to their children,
Yeah.
then they are inspired to pack up the child, put them in a stroller, whatever, go hiking, go biking, take a walk, whatever it is, but get outside and move. And that was the inspiration behind my journaling.
Wow, that's so beautiful. You never thought you'd become an author, huh? But it just came to you,
Never.
right?
Yeah, never did I imagine it. I still pinch myself today thinking like it's hard for me to say I'm an author even after I've written 6 books. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, you never know what life brings you, like, in your journey, I guess. Like, that's the beauty of it, right? Like, you grow up thinking you're going to do something one way, but really you don't have to be. You don't have to do that one route. You can be anything. Like, look at you. You're an author, you're a speaker, you're, you know, an entrepreneur. You're just doing all these different things, which is so beautiful to see. And all your life experiences, you get to teach that to people, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
So,
And here's the funny thing about it. I studied hotel business management in, in college.
what? So
I
different.
worked
So
I
different.
worked at a Red Lion for a while. Actually, two Red Lions for a while, one in Northern Cal and one in Southern Cal. Yeah, it was kind of crazy, but it just that's how life evolved, And now I have a landscaping business that I've been doing for over 20 years. It's something I became passionate about, in my midlife, and then training, working with kids, and it's just evolved over time. So yeah, never did I imagine that I'd be doing what I'm doing right now, for sure.
Aw, that's so beautiful. How did that passion though for helping kids, like how did that come about? Are you always passionate with helping kids in general, like ever since you were little, or or it just kind of developed because you start coaching kids and then you're like, "Oh, I really love this." And then you just like want to do more and more in that.
So when I went to Cal Poly Pomona, I went there to play baseball and to study. And then I went to a church that was there and got involved in their college program. And then when I was involved in that, they needed somebody to work with the junior hires. So I just volunteered to help out with the junior high, and that kind of really started the things moving forward. And then when I continued my education and I went into ministry and stuff, when I was attending Bethany College, which became Bethany University, I was studying there, and a professor came to me and said, "Hey, we need a youth pastor at our church here locally. Would you be interested in interviewing for it?" So, again, it just kind of just happened, And so 6 years later, I resigned from that and I go down to an orphanage, and again, I'm working with kids, with my family and my children. So I was a father, am a father, heavily involved in my kids' life, my 5 grandkids' lives, heavily involved in their lives. So, children, it's just something that I love. I love being around them. I love, influencing them. I love to encourage them. I love to inspire them. We play games and activities. It's just a great time. And so that's kind of how, working with kids kind of evolved in my life. And it really kind of set the tone for everything. And now, as I look at my timeline of my life, how much time was spent working and developing kids, and even from coaching one-on-one and personal training, I did that for 20 years. 20 years. So then when I ended that in 2020 because of COVID, I stepped back from that. And I was like, I'm missing something after a year of being away from working with kids. And that's when this whole movement came about, and writing books.
Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. I love that. Thank you for sharing that because I want people to understand that sometimes your passions just come with doing, like you just get thrown into it and then you're just like,
Yes.
"Whoa, I love this. Like, how come I didn't get like realize this or something?" Like some people are already born with certain passions, like, for drawing
Right.
or music, etc. But some of us, it takes time or certain scenarios or life events to bring you to your life purpose and passion. There's nothing wrong with this. So I just want people to know that because for me too, I was thrown into my passions of like card reading, etc. Like coaching, I didn't know that.
Yes.
I It just developed through whatever hardships I went through. So I just
That's
want people
great.
to know that, because
Yeah. Yeah.
it's an end. Also, I just want to remind people that it's never too late to follow your passions or to find it. Like that's part of living the human experience of, figuring out what truly makes you passionate and happy and joyful. And when you talk
Yes.
about this, I see you literally glowing up. So I know for sure this is your life purpose.
It is. It really is.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
So,
because I was 52 when I shut things down when it came to personal training. I shut things down, and then a year later, so I'm 53, that's when I pivoted.
yeah.
Like, it's not too late, and I am passionate about it, just like you're passionate about what you do, right? And so it's not work because it's very, very fulfilling, and then like this morning, somebody, sent me a message and just encouraging me, and it just, when you read that, it's fulfilling, and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Yes, and you'll know, right? Like you feel like your soul igniting or something. Like you feel something in you and you're just like, oh, yay, it lights you up. So you know that that's the right thing for you. So like just like
Yes.
when I said, when you talk about you're literally glowing. So
Yeah.
that's a sign
Thank you.
if you don't know that. So can you tell us more about the Move 365 movement and how it has grown into a worldwide initiative? So, you said you started just something small, but now you're making it national, which is beautiful. It's so awesome.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was really cool because after we launched the books, we spent a year with the publisher and her staff, and we spent a whole year of just zooming every week, practically meetings every week, because we're trying to crank these books out in 1 year to launch at the beginning of summer 2023. And so when we finally got that done and we had the launch, I was exhausted. And then I really wasn't a social media person at that time, but I kind of had to learn it and get trained on it and understand how to do it and the importance of it. But it took a couple of months. But then after that 2 months, somebody came to me and said, "Hey, listen, why don't you take one of the ideas that you have in the book and do it like in your community?" And I was like, "That's a great idea." So we thought about maybe when I was talking to my publisher, we were talking about maybe doing 4 events a year. Maybe we'll start with a walk, we'll do a run, we'll do a bike ride, we'll do a beach bonfire, we'll do a sandcastle building day, whatever it is, we'll do it 4 times a year. So we started with the simple thing, which is the walk. And we have a beautiful walk up on the cliffs in Santa Cruz. And so we're up there, had about 25 people that showed up, and we were just so pumped after the event was over. Like, you know what? I think we're going to do this every month. And then we did it again. And then we did it again. Now remember, I want to tell you this, not every time are there 25 people out there. I've been out there by myself in the rain. And that's cool because it's my mission, it's my passion, and I'm going to be committed, to that. East Coast, it's a little bit different because they have to deal with snow and sleet and black ice and all these kinds of things and minus-degree temperatures. But here in California, it's a little bit different, so we started these walks, and they happen on the second Saturday of every month. It has now grown in the 10 months that we have done it. We have our 11th coming up in September on the 14th. It has grown to 25 states and also 5 countries. So
Wow.
we just signed on Australia. I'm super excited about it. I talked with the guy yesterday in a meeting we had last night. He's so pumped. He goes, "We've got a group of about 6 to 10 as of right now, slated for September 14th. But we've got half the country, half the states in our country that are walking, and 5 other countries that are walking with us. And it's just word of mouth, and it's me out there promoting, and it's other people that are promoting and hashtagging, all this kind of stuff. And it's just great. And the beauty of it, Kathy, is that it's really about just getting people to come together. Yes, we get exercise. Yes, we get outside. We breathe in the fresh air. But it's about connectivity. It's about you and I. It's about me and other people. And we're doing it all in our communities. We're not meeting at a specific spot and saying you got to drive miles and miles and miles to get there. No, you do it in your community. And that's the beauty of it. And so just start inviting friends and family, choose a time, choose a location and a destination, and post about it and hashtag me. And it's awesome, and it's growing, and we're going to reach all 50 states and as many countries as we possibly can.
Love it so much. So, why do you believe that it's important for families to spend time outside together? And how does that really impact children's development?
Oh man, as you know, we are living in a time of device, right?
Mhm,
Technology. So we have, a computer in our pocket.
mhm.
Kids under 10 have computers in their pocket, and they
Yeah.
carry it everywhere. The battle is like teachers right now are battling what to do with cell phones in their classroom. Like, do we leave them at the door? Do we leave them in a case? Do we have them, silence it and leave it on their desk or whatever? So you have devices, you have video games, you have television. You just have families that are in the house that aren't spending quality time together. I mean, people go to restaurants, and what do? They give their kids an iPad or they give them their cell phone, and there's no dialogue, there's no conversation of really getting to know who our own children are, right? Because we have these simple devices. And so we don't spend that quality time together. And so dad comes home, mom's at home, or mom's working, she comes home, and so the family doesn't spend a lot of time together. In fact, 25% or more in American families don't do any activity at all. So the important thing is movement and exercise and getting outside and doing some sort of activity is going to help, with brain activity. It's going to help with bringing down depression, anxiety. It's going to help with our cardiovascular. It's going to give us clarity in our lives, but it's also going to create, community and connectivity with our families. And so it's important. In fact, one story, a friend of mine, it was the first podcast I had done, Jeff Forrester out of Orlando, Florida. And he said, we used to, as a family, when my kids were young, we would just, take the dog for a walk. But now that my kids are older, now it's all, hey, Johnny, can you take the kid for the walk? Hey, Mike, hey, Alicia, can you take the kid for a walk? Because they can go do it by themselves. But he said after the podcast, he goes, I was inspired that my family of 5 will get out there and do this together again. And so it's awesome to see bringing families together and getting outside and moving together.
Oh, that's so true. I totally believe that it's, like being out in nature, first of all, is very crucial nowadays.
Mm,
Disconnect. So the
yes.
importance of being outdoors. And then secondly, of course, being with your family, loved ones, you don't want to just be stuck indoors all the time. And you mentioned it, I'm guilty of this, that, sometimes we do focus on more of our devices than actually interacting, etc.
Yes.
So it's true. When you actually get outdoors, though, for sure that's like family bonding time. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
hard when you're indoors, right? You're just sitting down and it's kind of hard to interact. So
Yeah.
being intentional. So this is intentional, knowing that, hey, when we're outdoors, family time, no phone. So this is why
Yes.
it's helpful to do that. I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing
Yeah,
that.
yeah, absolutely. It was a Sunday morning and I walked down to the beach. I live close to the beach. I walked down to the beach and, it was quiet and it looked like, a grandfather who was there with his granddaughter. And so the granddaughter is there with a few little toys and she's digging and he's just laying on his side. And what is he doing? He's on his phone.
Mm.
And inside it kills me. Like, you have these moments, whether you're a dad, you're a mom, or you're a grandparent, you're an aunt or your uncle. These times are precious, these times are limited, and especially as a kid we don't get those times back. And as a grandparent, I'm a grandparent of 5 and I have 2 that live close by. Take advantage of those opportunities. Don't spend it on your phone, don't spend it inside, get outside. And when you have them, or even as a parent, take those precious times. I'm not saying we got 100% be locked in, but give them those times because those times are precious and those kids will remember that. And so when I looked at that and I saw this grandfather there on his phone while the granddaughter was digging in the sand, she would look up at him and there was just no conversation. And it was sad to me. And it's like, we're missing it. We are missing it. And so take advantage of those opportunities that you have with your children or with your grandchildren.
Oh, thank you for pointing that out. It's so true. I love how my mom is so good though. Gemma's grandparents are so good where they don't have their phones out usually. And they interact. So I'm so spoiled in that way. So when I
That's
do,
awesome.
see other people do that, I kind of I don't try not to judge people, but I'm like really sad, like I just feel
Right.
sorry for them. Because
Yes.
they really do. They do notice. So like say if I'm on my phone and I'm not watching Gemma, she knows. She's just like, "Mom,"
Yes.
like they know. So I try to be more intentional. So
Yes.
that's why it's so important to talk about, have this conversation and let people be aware of like how your actions are. And I'm sure most people don't even notice that, they use most of their phone most of the time. I'm sure most of people just are kind of zombied into like the everyday life that they don't even notice. Like my husband, he'll scroll through his phone and I'm like, dude, your daughter's right in front of you. No, this is family time right now. Okay?
Yes.
He doesn't
Yes.
even notice. I'm like,
Yeah.
do you not notice this? How are people so
Yeah.
oblivious to it? I just don't get that part.
Yes. Yeah. I remember I was dating a gal a long time ago. And I remember, we'd go out, and have dinner or whatever. And, she'd be on her phone quite a bit. And then sometimes she would apologize. Other times she's oblivious to the fact that, that was happening. And I'm just like, this isn't what this is about. And I think of that in times of our kids, right? And spending that time together. It's okay to get on your device. It's okay to check out the weather. It's okay to check out a score or whatever. Don't spend your entire meal or your entire time, on the beach or on a walk or whatever, capturing, those moments of, we need to capture those moments of spending time together and getting away and taking a break from the devices. A friend of mine, Graham, about a month ago, just spent 12 hours away from his phone.
Wow.
Purposely went on a 12-hour walk. A
Beautiful.
12-hour walk. He took a lunch, he took plenty of, liquids for hydration, and he went out, he left his phone at home, and he basically broke free from this for 12 hours. I
Wow.
mean, imagine a lot of people, right? I mean, they'd be shaking like like a
Yeah.
drug, right? You can't live without that device,
Yeah.
but just try it for 30 minutes, try for an hour, just
No,
take a walk and leave the phone behind.
it's true. I think I told you this story when we first talked that one day I heard about like just not bringing your phone for a walk, whatever, just like cleansing yourself
Yes.
from the device. And I literally did that. And mind you, I took this walk for like months, okay, months. And then one day I didn't take the phone for just to detox myself. And dude, did you know like I just noticed that there was so much beauty in life. Like we missed these
Mm,
things. I was like, I
we
can't
miss
believe
it.
it. So, like, I saw all these beautiful flowers on my
Yes.
walk, and I was like, "How did I miss this before?"
Yes.
And I just noticed, like, how toxic the phone is. Like, you don't even realize how toxic it is until you literally detox and leave it at home. So I left it at home, and I was like, "Wow, this is so
Yeah.
life-changing." And now I know that I love flowers. Like, it brings me so much joy. It reminds me, like, life is so beautiful, you know?
Hmm.
And people should do that. Like what you said, even for 30 minutes, like or 15 minutes, go outside for a walk without your phone. It's life-changing. Like it changed my life.
Yes.
It changed your life, your friend's life,
Yeah.
like just these little steps. And again, I feel like all the little things for you to really change your life is the little things that you change in your daily life,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, because think about it. And I'm guilty of it as well. Like you get in a conversation on a walk in your cell phone, or you got to send off these text messages or emails or whatever. You're taking a walk, and all of a sudden you've walked 3, 4, 5 blocks, and you haven't seen anything,
Yeah,
right? You haven't seen the sky, you haven't seen the moon, you haven't seen the stars, you haven't seen the flowers, or
yeah,
just breathed in,
yeah,
right? Just the fresh air of the day or the
yeah,
evening.
yeah,
So yeah, capture those times. They're
yeah.
beautiful.
Instead, you're not living. You're living on a device, but you're not
Yeah,
living life, which
that's
is
right.
so different. It's wild. So thank you for mentioning that. I totally believe in this. So I love your movement so much. So how
Mm.
has physical movement and being active influenced your own life, and what benefits have you personally experienced?
So, balance is a really focal point in my life. I try to maintain balance in my life. So, I work out on a Peloton, which is indoors, but I live at the beach. I play beach volleyball. I play smash ball. I hang out with my friends on the beach. I take evening walks, probably 3 or 4 nights a week. I'm taking an evening walk. So activity. I'm a very active person, basically 7 days a week, and then I have another workout that I do as well with the bands. So yes, in terms of balance, I try to work, I try to live, I try to laugh, I try to cry, I try to move. I try to do all of these things that create balance in my life. And the thing about physical activity, whatever it is, right? If you're out surfing or you're kite surfing or you're playing beach volleyball, you're riding a bike, you're walking, you're hiking, whatever it may be, when you're doing these activities, think about what that does to the rest of your body. Think about it from a mental standpoint, think about it from an emotional standpoint, and think about it from a spiritual standpoint. The impact of physical activity, whatever it is. If we could just get in 2,500 steps a day, or we could get in a little bit of a cardio workout, whatever that may be, yoga, stretching, whatever. Find something that's in your life that brings balance to your life, and that is, a lot of us live like on a tilted axis, right? And we're out of balance. And so try to look at your life, and I try to reflect on this every week. Where am I out of balance, right? And we can work ourselves to death, or we can create balance, which is going to give our lives an extended life, not only for ourselves, but we can be around for our kids or our grandkids, and live life to its fullest. And I just heard on the radio the other day, I was driving, and it said, for seniors especially, when you're outside gardening, like, this extends your life, and it helps you, to physically and mentally be active, and it generates the endorphins inside of you that will create a longer lifespan for yourself. So think about that if you're doing that older, yeah, as an older person, but if you started as a young person, this is just one activity. So try to do this, and try to get activity involved in your life, and bring balance to your life if you're imbalanced.
Oh, how do you know if you're imbalanced?
All you got to do is take a gauge of your week. If you break down 24 hours, we're all given the same 24 hours in the day, right? And so when you break this down and you think about this, 6 to 8 hours a day is sleeping, a
Mm.
couple hours a day is eating. So we're already up to almost 10 hours just in those two functions. Then most of us work anywhere from 8 to 10 hours a day. So that leaves us at about 4 hours a day for ourselves or for our families. That's not a lot of time,
Mm.
right? Before we go back to sleep. So you think about that. Yeah, those are two big portions of our life, and that's just life itself. But when you think about balance, you think about, what are the things that really bring me happy? And it could be reading, it could be writing, it could be an art, it could be a craft, it could be music. You know what I mean? But I think incorporating activity in it, and you look at those 24 hours and how you break those times that you have available, what are you doing with that time to balance out your life?
Oh, thank you for sharing that, because that makes it makes so much sense, and it brings me so much clarity. And I never even thought about how much time we spend. So in my mind, I feel like we spend all our time, working, or most of us do.
Yes,
You saying it in those hours, it's like, whoa, you really do only get about 4 hours of like what you
that's it.
truly want to do, even if you're not a family person, right? Or you're single, but still, what are you doing in those 4 hours? Are you working out? Are you reading what are you doing for yourself? And
Right.
probably most of us is probably spending those other 4 hours sitting watching TV
Yes.
or being on
Yes.
our devices, right? Like most,
Yes.
I'm pretty sure.
Yes. I
That's
read back in May, CNN Health put out a report that said, 200 years ago, everybody was in agriculture. So
yeah.
there was only every people only sat down 3 to 5 hours a day. Now the average is 13 to 15 hours a day that people are seated, right? They're sitting 13 to 15 hours a day, which is a lot, right? So you think about what that is doing to our body. And then what we need to do, if we can take 15, 30 minutes, an hour a day, and do something to get to release the stress, the anxiety that's built up over work. In fact, Vince Warnock in Australia, we were having this conversation on a podcast a week or two ago, and he said, I had 10 hours to do this presentation that I had to get ready for. And he goes, I was so stressed. He goes, I was so stressed. But he goes, something that you just said made me think about it. He goes, I went for a walk before those 10 hours. And he said, you know what I did? I knocked out everything I needed to do in 5 hours. I didn't need the full 10 hours, because when I went out and walked, it got me out of that mindset of thinking what I needed to do and bringing all that pressure onto my life. So I got out, I got away, I walked, I felt freedom, I felt clarity, I wasn't stressed, and boom, because of that, I knocked everything out in 5 hours, and I still had 5 hours left to prepare whatever I want to do or go do something else. And so there's a huge impact on our life when we think about physical activity, and especially being outside.
Ooh, thank you for sharing that example. It's true. That's why people say, like, when you are truly stressed, you're not going to be able to do your task because your cortisol level is too high and you just can't focus.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's why it's so helpful just getting outside and going for a walk, because you're releasing that tension, the cortisol, which is super helpful.
100%. Yes.
Again, it's
Love
an
that.
easy task to do, right? But people don't even do the easy task. I feel like our society is just so extreme. Do you feel this way? Like they're like, I guess it's kind of our culture. Like you have to be extreme, or I guess you're kind of used to the extremities in order to like want to do something, or you think it's gonna be extreme for you to change your life or something, right? like diets or having when people want to work out, they go extreme. But it's like really, it's actually the simple tasks
It
that
is.
truly make a difference, right? Like what you just said, just going for a walk. But people don't think like, oh, I have to sit down and meditate or do some crazy thing to like get my brain back to normal. It's like, no, like
Yes.
do what works for you. I mean, like this is why it's called finding things or finding tools that work for you, and everybody's different,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah. Well, think about this, Kathy. Think about New Year's resolutions, right?
Mm,
People make New Year's resolutions,
yes.
but how many can carry that New Year's resolution for 12 months? How many
Yeah.
carry for 6 months or even a month, right?
Yeah.
Now, this goes back to a story back in December of last year. I was having coffee in New York City at the Hole with a buddy of mine, Craig Siegel. Craig asked me a pointed question that I was not prepared for. He just said this. He said, Russ, what is your word for 2024? And I said, be intentional. And it hit me so fast and so hard. And I'll tell you what, Kathy, that word intentional has changed my life in 2024. I didn't create a New Year's resolution. I didn't think about all the things that I needed to do. I needed to go on a diet. I need to lose weight. I need to eat less. I need to, exercise more. I need to do all this stuff, spend more time with kids or whatever. No, intentional. Be intentional. That word changed my life because, in my family's life, procrastination is something that, my kids and my family, even my parents, everybody has dealt with at some point. And procrastination and intentional combats that. It
Mhm.
combats that. It helps us not put things off, right? And so intentional, if you take that word, and that doesn't have to be your word or anybody else's word, but it is a word that is practical for me, that helps me in my everyday life to say, I'm going to be intentional. And so when I think about exercise, I'm going to be intentional about it. And there is a window of time between 3 and 5 p.m. That is my time to be intentional about exercise. That is my time to step outside, to go for a walk, get on the Peloton, or I may go do a night walk at the end of the night around 8:45 p.m. It's dark, it's quiet. Cars are basically home, people are home, and it's just a quiet time to reflect. Hear the ocean waves, smell the ocean air. And so if you're intentional about it, you don't have to do a New Year's resolution. Just be intentional about it. Come up with a word that's going to help you to stay focused on whatever it may be. And guess what? That'll help the balance in your life.
Wow, that's so powerful. Thank you for sharing another powerful tool that someone can use. And
Oh,
it's just that easy, picking one word for the year. And
hmm.
I think Michelle uses this, the person who actually introduced us. She said that she had a word for 2024. I don't what was hers? Something unstoppable. And so she's been
Yes.
unstoppable this whole year. And she's just been going and going. This is how we connected. So I was just sharing that because it made me think of her. I was like, wow, yeah, that's true. That's
And she
wow.
is unstoppable. That is for
Yeah,
sure.
right?
Oh
Right?
man,
So
she is
she's
the
a clear
networking
example.
queen.
Yeah, right? So, yeah, that's just another great tool. Thank you for sharing that. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, so what advice would you give to parents who are struggling to get their kids away from screens and out into nature? And I really want to ask this question because I'm sure a lot of parents notice this, but they don't even know where to start, Like at least I'm aware, right? And I know what to do. But for people who are so used to like the sedentary lifestyle, they don't even know where to start.
Yeah. It's harder if you have kids who are already on devices, who
Mm,
are already locked into video games. That's going to be a greater challenge than for somebody who has a 1 year old or a 2 year old who aren't used to the devices. The thing about it is the parents set the tone,
mhm,
right? They set the tone. So you set the tone for whatever you want. If you have young children that are under the age of 3, set the tone early. This is what we're going to do. We are going to sit around the table and we're going to have dinner together. We're going to have reading time together. We're going to take walks together. We're going to set that tone in their lives. And that's really about my books and my desire about the movement and the passion behind that is to get people to set the tone not only for their adult selves, but also for their children. So that activity and wanting to be outside and being active is something that they are going to aspire to be when they get in their teens, high school years, and college years and beyond. And so for the ones that are challenged that already have allowed their kids too much time, you're going to have to take small steps and retracting that and bringing that back in so you can get focus in your family. So if you just say a hard no, it's gonna be a much tougher time. But if you kind of just wean into it and take baby steps, it'll be a much easier time of spending with your kids, because you know they're gonna want to fight that, and because they're used to that. That's what you've allowed. So take baby steps and get into it and break some of those habits.
That's true. And you got to be strong. Remember, parents, you got to be strong. Okay. Have the
Yes.
willpower to say, no, we're going to do this as a family. I know it's hard, but trust me, let's just try it out and see what happens or something. Like you have to be strong in it. And I'm already battling this with my 2-year-old. She's not even two. She's just like, TV, TV, you know? And I'm like, why do you know this? How do you know this? You
Yes.
know? Like, no, we're not doing that right now. Let's read a book. So then I'll grab a book instead. Or like this morning, she wanted to watch TV. I was like, no, let's go outside. So then I got her to play outside instead. So maybe that's why she's so attached to me today, because I was super interactive with her.
Mm.
So I don't know, but it's like you
Yeah.
have to be strong in trying to distract them to say no, let's do something else, you know, not just saying no, you just can't, you know, they're not
Yeah.
gonna understand that. What do you mean I can't? Why? You know, the
Yes.
kid, even when you get said no to, right? You'd be mad. You're like, what do you mean no? Right? As an adult.
We all hate no.
Yeah, right. So I feel like that's such a
Uh,
great tip though. That's such a great tip because if you just straight up flat out say no, which most of us do, I see this with a lot of my other, you know, family or relatives who have kids. They're just like, no, no more TV or something. It's like, they're not going to respond to that. They're going to be like,
right.
what do you mean, no? I just got it. What do you mean, no? You
Yeah.
know, you have to explain and have the patience to do it. So I feel like that's part of it is saying no, but like you have to be strong about it. Like you have to
Yes.
want it for yourself and your family and see the bigger picture because
Hmm.
then it's actually going to be better for your family and for yourself, right? Than just sitting around watching.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
But
I
people
mean,
don't know that until they see
yeah.
it or do it, right?
Yeah,
This is what.
one of the biggest things that I see, like when people go out to restaurants with their kids and stuff, is you see kids on the iPhone or on their tablet, you
Mhm.
know, and there's zero conversation,
Yeah, that's
you
true.
know, and so again, you're missing out on opportunities to connect with your kids, right? And you just say, well, instead of them crying, I'm just going to give them a device. Well, what
Yeah.
does that do? That's enabling them, right? And so the next time that you go out and you don't want to give them the device, it's going to be a battle,
Yeah.
right? So, you know, so you got to start early, you know, for the ones that are, you know, getting ready to birth their first, or, you know, have young ones that are under 3, start now. Set the tone early, set it, you know, set it now for, you know, when you go out, you're not going to do this. When, you know, from 7 to 8, we're going to have family time. We're going to sit around the table, we're going to eat, we're going to take a walk around the block, we're going to, you know, we're going to get outside. Or on the weekends, we're going to do an activity for as a family for a couple of hours, right? And just get outside and do something different.
But question for you, what if you have a child that literally will not let you eat when you're out? So yes, they want to run around and stuff, and their, you know, their attention span's really short. Like, what do you do at that point? Like, do you just bring coloring books or like, you know, how does that work for parents out there struggling? Guilty. I'm not gonna
I know.
lie.
Yeah, no, coloring books are a great thing because you can do it together,
Yeah.
right? You can color together, you can draw together. But if you give them a tablet, you're not necessarily engaging them. You're just enabling them not to talk or not to respond to a question that you may have for interaction purposes, right? For your family and to get to know your kids and who they are and why they are who they are, right? So it's so important. So do some, you know, if you're at a table, do some things that are going to be engaging with the child
Yes.
that you can do together.
All right. I got to be better at that. I think part of it is like the husband gives the device. So, you know, if you are in a relationship, it takes two to, you know, like actually enforce too as well. Because if one
Yes.
parent's on the same, you know, on one page and the other isn't on the same page, it's like a battle too. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
you got to be in cahoots together. That's for sure. You got to talk
Yeah.
about it as a couple. What are we, what expectations are we going to set for our kids? Right. And what are we going to allow and disallow? And so, and how much time is going to be spent, because we all like to have our own quiet time as well, right? Whether it's reading or watching TV or just, sitting in silence, or maybe even just listening to music. Right. So, find out what is good for us and what is good for, the kids. But, as a couple, you got to set the tone early
Mm, okay.
and be on the same page.
You're making me think of a lot about things, so thank you. I'm trying to be real
Oh,
and
that's
honest, like, I'm
awesome.
not trying to
Yeah.
be, because I'm guilty of it, and it's not fair for my listeners if I'm lying about the situation. I'm like, I'm guilty of it. See, and it's hard.
It is hard.
It's
It's
hard,
not
but
easy. 100%. It's not easy.
yeah, but talking about it and then being aware of it and then like knowing that it's okay, let's like be aware and just fix it or somehow, use the tools that
Yeah.
you shared. So thank you for that because that's a true awakening. I didn't realize how much TV, I guess. Because in my mind, I was like, okay, we try to not give our TV as much as possible, like 15 minutes
Sure.
here and there, but still, that can still have an effect. Like, let's try to not give her as much as possible, meaning let's say zero. Okay. And then
Yeah.
if it's really struggling, it's just one of those days. Okay. I get it. But like, be intentional for zero screen time.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. The expectations, I guess, needs to be different. So thank you for
Yeah.
opening my eyes today. I
Oh,
got some work to do.
I'm glad we could talk about it. That was awesome.
Yeah, yeah, because, I was like, should I mention it? But no, I was like, no, I gotta be real with you. I'm guilty. I'm guilty of it. You know?
So, yes, we all are.
You
We
know?
all are.
It's
Yeah.
it's it's tough being a parent nowadays, but I mean, you always want to do the best that you can. So thank you for sharing that of like how we
Mm.
can overcome things and just be aware. So how do you actually see the future of the Move 365 movement, and what are your hopes for its impact globally?
So I'm working on some other projects in terms of books and stuff like that. So, continuing to write, which is crazy to me, but it's in my blood. Again, kind of going back to what we talked about earlier about having, right now we have 25 states. We want all 50 states moving, but it's not just having one community in all 50 states. It's having many, many communities in all of the states and as many countries as that we can meet. And the importance is that if we can have global time where we are spending time outside, can you imagine globally, all on the same day, the impact that it can have if we are sometime during that day that we're all out there moving. Imagine what that would be, right? And that is what I'm imagining in my mind is
Yeah.
on the second Saturday of every month, the world is moving. We're all walking together. We're getting outside and we're connecting with friends and family and colleagues and people in the community. And that's the beautiful thing is that we're, each time that I get out there and walk, I'm meeting somebody different in the community and walking with them. So I'm getting exercise, but I'm also having great conversation along the way. And so I'm seeing this as a bigger picture. And so, one of the things I want to do in 2025 is to get on more stages, to get in more schools, and to share my mission and to share my passion about movements and the importance of movement and what it's doing, what it can do for us if we set that in motion. If we set that time aside, we get the balance that we need. We put activity as a high priority in our lives and not as the bottom, right? So we got to have it. We got to have it as a high priority. And so when we do this and we see, 25% of the United States households are not moving at all, I want to see that number, drop, extensively down, right? And so we want to affect as many families as we possibly can. And so, it's my mission, it's my passion. But hopefully, when people hear my mission and hear my passion, not only are they inspired, but they're going to inspire other people to do the same thing that I'm doing.
Oh, I love that. I love your mission. Thank you for even coming up with this and seeing such a beautiful movement, though. Like, I'm just imagining myself too, like literally just imagine if every single person out, like 8 billion people in the world is outside at one time, and there's like a camera just like showing you, how we're all bonding and connecting and just loving one another. I feel like it'll bring the community, the love back, the
Yes.
positivity, high vibrations, and it just like looks like a beautiful view.
Yeah.
You're creating this movement and you're promoting and doing this. So this is beautiful. Thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. You remember, it was years ago. There was, I don't exactly remember what it was called. I think it was Hands Around the World or something. It was like people joining hands to make a circle around the world. It was something like that. But having that thought in my head, like in what you just said, 8 billion people like out on the same day, right, at different times throughout the 24 hours, moving, and what that looks like, and the picture that it brings in my mind is amazing. So thank you for setting that tone. For myself, it's a great picture.
Oh, of course. I want other people to envision this too. It's beautiful.
Yes.
It is. So, what message do you hope to leave with our listeners about the importance of incorporating movement into their daily lives?
So my message to them is this: be encouraged, be inspired, be motivated to move. Set the
Mhm.
tone for yourself, make it importance, make it high importance in your own life, in your own journey. And don't do, if you come and join me on the walks on the second Saturday of each month, that's great. But one time a month is not going to do it. In order for us to be healthy, in order for us to extend our lives, in order for us to be around for the next generation, you got to move. You got to be active. And so I'm encouraging you to to join me on my walks, but also I want you to make walking and movement a daily part of your life and in your journey, not just for yourself, but your family and your children as well.
Oh, love that. Yes, I totally agree with you. I think it's super important because, even moving a little bit a day goes a long way without just, without even doing anything daily. So just
Yeah,
even 15 minutes of being outdoor is better than
that's
nothing.
it. Yeah. CNN also put out another health thing that said, if you can get in 2,500 steps, 3 to 4 times a week, you can do some sort of agility exercise. Because when you think about walking, it's very linear, right? It's straightforward motion. But agility, side to side movement, doing some sort of a aerobic exercise, or, like for me, I play beach volleyball. So you're moving all over and you're in the sand. So whatever it may be, it's water skiing or snow skiing, whatever the activity is, do something that's agility. But then the last thing they said, the third thing is we got to have exercise with people. We got to connect. And when you think about that, the importance of linear movement, of walking, agility, and connecting with people, and also having activity with them and conversation, what that will do for not only our lives, but for the lives of people around us.
Oh, that's so true. Thank you for all your knowledge, your beautiful movement. Like being here with me today, it was
Um,
such an honor. Honestly, I feel like I could talk to you for days. Um,
it's been awesome, Kathy.
yeah, but thank you for sharing your amazing knowledge and why we should move and how important it is. So thank you for being here today, sharing this and, giving us tips and tools and real life experiences of how this really changes people's lives.
I
So it's
appreciate it so much.
yeah. So before we end, do you have any last minute things you want to share with? And please let us know where the listeners can find you more.
Yeah. So I hope that all of you will join me on the second Saturday of each month in the walks in your community. Take a 2 mile walk, encourage people to join you. Those dates are found on my website at movetoday365.com, or you can follow me on Instagram at movetoday365 or find me on Facebook under Russell Rogers. So if you find me on any one of those three, follow me, tag me, and let's get out and move together and let's change the world one person at a time.
Oh, love it. Thank you so much. And last but not least, I'll put all your resources, etc., in the description below. But thank you so much for today. It was such an honor.
Thank you, Kathy. Appreciate it.